The job of an artist is simple. He must tell the truth. Telling the truth is not easy for a liar. If you are an agent of truth, however, it's not that hard to tell it how it is. It's quite easy to be honest with someone or with people in general, because when you tell the truth, you don't have to remember all the lies and excuses you're building up. If you just plain told how you really felt or why you did something, even if it was wrong or right, well, you're already doing the right thing. Now, if someone is in potential danger and if telling the truth would cost their life, go ahead and lie. If your boss asked you if you think he's an asshole, well, if it means your job, which means your life, and you want to keep that job, then by all means tell him what you really think if you can't stand him anymore, but do it as nicely as you can. However, if you really want to keep your job, then it's quite understandable if you kept your mouth shut. And on the subject of honesty at work, if something sucks at ass there, go and tell him. He might disagree or even fire you, but at least your principles are intact. Maybe if he cools off for a while, he might realize you're right and hire you right back with an apology in tow. The point I'm making here is that you gotta be honest and tell the truth, but you also have to pick your battles too. With that out of the way, let's focus on telling the truth in art. If you're an artist and you don't know what to paint, paint the truth. If you're in a contest with a theme and everyone's sucking up to the judges of the competition by selling out and putting images in their pieces they know the judges will love, well, you don't believe in what the others are putting in their paintings because it doesn't ring true, then do the right thing and tell the truth and don't be like them. You might even win that contest, simply because everyone appreciates honesty, especially if the truth you're talking about makes a lot of sense, and no one has the guts to say it. Or if you really like a girl and she's really pretty, chances are a lot of other guys are telling her a lot of positive things to her to get in her favor. Imagine if you told her the truth if she asked you about something. You weren't negging her or anything, you're simply just telling her the truth. That to her ears would be something she has not heard before. A truth about herself that you notice and she hasn't. She and most girls are looking for the truth because girls, and people in general, don't like people who just say things just to be nice to them. And even if you said a lie and she believed you, imagine if she found out the truth. She would never look at you the same way again, and it'll be hard to earn her trust back. Those examples, it's like that all around, in your job, with your clients, and in your art. If you tell people you're going to make this thing or project awesome, then let it be awesome, and not a half-baked piece of shit art piece. Side note, don't tell people you're going to make it awesome in the first place. When you've finished a piece and show it to them, let them say that it's awesome. It'll be awesome if it's awesome, and it won't be if it's not, even if you said it's going to be. Imagine the spot you'll be in promising awesomeness and just delivering a meh. It could all have been avoided, right? So don't overpromise and do it the best you can. So in making art, when it comes to the themes and topics that you're saying in the message of your piece, don't embellish it, tell it as it is. You can heighten some aspects of it or exaggerate some parts of the story and make hyperboles galore. But its core must remain rooted in the truth. The English author Alan Moore, known primarily for his work in comic books including Watchmen, The Killing Joke, and V for Vendetta, said, "I traffic in fiction. I do not traffic in lies." With fiction, art and writing, it's important that even if you're dealing with areas of complete and outrageous fantasy, that there is an emotional resonance. It is important that a story ring true upon a human level even if it never happened. What he means is, if you're telling a story, it's not always that the good guys always win. Sometimes, and maybe oftentimes, the good guys lose. Or the main character doesn't always get the girl in the end. Most of the time, she gets away or maybe even falls in love with another. That's the story we all know to be true, that they don't always live happily ever after. It's seldom that the girl is going to fall for the guy just because he gave her 1,000 flowers. That only works in the movies. That's not how it works in real life. You can't buy love like that. You'd probably even be asked by the girl to stop doing this and file a restraining order against you. True love exists even if you don't have money to buy your girl a single rose. Maybe that girl appreciates paper roses instead because they will never wilt. Those kinds of stories are the one you know make sense because it's grounded. Now just slam some villains who want to abolish all paper in the world, and you've got yourself a story. So no matter what fantasy or imagined world you're writing, either lived in by aliens or by antichrists, you gotta tell some truth in it, so that people can connect with it. It will resonate with them because they too have felt that way. That's why people love Spider-Man. It's because he always worries about paying rent and responsibilities. Sure, he can defeat the Green Goblin, but at the end of the month, he has to work for someone who thinks his alter ego's a menace, so that he could pay the rent. And we can all resonate with that, and imagine that after paying the rent, we dream of kicking the Green Goblin's ass. For me, I grab the truth and turn it into fiction. When I was in high school I loved to draw comics, so I was bummed that we didn't have art classes at our school. I also loved poetry, but it wasn't a major topic in English class. We've discussed it before, but just for a week and we moved on. I also didn't like algebra too much. I like math, but our teacher at the time was the terror kind. She humiliates students in front of the class if we couldn't get the answer right, and adding to the pressure, she's shouting at you and remembers you so that the next time you fuck up, she's sure to give you a bigger scolding in front of everyone. The school that I was also enrolled at was a Catholic school, and we prayed every time a class started, and we had a lot of classes. We also had a lot of trips to the church, which was just beside the school, which was named after the school. That's all good and all, but sometimes we noticed that the school is somewhat greedy. So as students, we were confused about whether or not the school was actually good. I also liked gothic stuff at the time in Hollywood horror films, especially the ones with angels and demons and the end of the world types of films. And of course, since this was in the 2000s, I also loved anime and manga. I especially liked Hunter x Hunter at the time, and loved some of the characters in the series, especially the ZEN Riot, and also known as the Phantom Troop. One day I was watching TV with my family in our living room. We were watching the 2001 movie X-Men. Then there was a scene there where the mutants were in the Xavier mansion in one of the classrooms listening to Storm's lecture. Pyro showing off his powers, and there was a small commotion. The scene ends with Bobby Drake whispering to Rogue, "Welcome to Mutant High." Suddenly, an idea came to my mind. Mixing in with the wants and angst I had with my high school, I thought, what if there was a school in another world that was the opposite of our Catholic schools? Instead of a school worshipping God, what if there was a school where they worship Satan? A complete invert of our schools today in an alternate world. And then the word Satan High came to mind. I then closed my eyes and saw a school in the middle of the forest, and instead of a church with a cross on top, there was an inverted cross with a pentagram in the middle. The school was all black, and all the students wore all black clothes, and anybody can kill anyone because they inverted the 10 Commandments. Oh, and they also had art and poetry classes. After a flow of ideas popped into my head, I ran into my room and didn't even finish the movie, even if X-Men was my favorite film at the time, but the idea was so big I had to start making it. I sketched all that I could in pages, and before I knew it, Satan High was born. I was able to create Satan High when I was in my second year of high school, and I let all my frustrations about our school out on the comic pages. I talk about professors trying to kill students who fail the class, somewhat like my own professors who humiliate me when I do something wrong, because let's be honest, when your teacher humiliates you in front of the class, it is as if you've died. The teachers at Satan High don't just scold you, they kill you right there in the class, but the students can also fight back if they wanted to. But not everyone died. The art class professor is still alive. I also added a PE class which was called Pain Class. It's like a deathmatch tournament where students can kill each other inside a cage. It was me letting out a lot of frustration not being able to start fights at school, because I didn't want to go to the principal's office and be expelled. In my world, however, I can kill anybody who fucks with me and beat their faces to a pulp. Suffice it to say, Satan High was a violent and angsty indie comic, but you know what? Letting all my anger and frustrations go into these pages really made me vent out my demons, and somewhat even made me normal. I had thoughts of suicide when I was in high school because I was dumped by a girl I loved. Silly reasons, right? But to a teenager, it's the end of the world. And so being able to vent all my problems and dilemmas into that dark world made me look at life and realize that I had it okay, that it was going to be fine. I scratched the paper with pens instead of slashing my wrists with a blade to end my life. Going back to an artist telling the truth, well, I just told you the truth. The truth about my comic Satan High's origin, of how shitty my teacher was, and how I multiplied that x10 in my school. The truth of how I wish we had poetry and art classes in our school, the urges we wanted to beat the bullies up, the way we wanted to wear goth clothes just like the Phantom Troop did. That's all true. And I don't even stutter or blink when I tell or type the story because I'm not holding back, I'm not lying, I'm only telling the truth. See how easy it is? I typed all of this really fast as well. And you know what? Satan High was loved by my classmates in high school, they could relate to it, they said. And even up to college people still read it and even bought them. As in they paid real money to get a copy of it. Satan High was the first thing I did that I was able to sell. And how I approached making Satan High is how I approach anything right now in terms of creating something, whether it's art, writing stories, poetry, making comics, and maybe life in general. I've told the truth in writing, and even if I have nothing to say on a topic, I explore my own experiences in the theme, and a stream of consciousness flows from my mind onto the page. It's because you're just sharing your story. You can edit some parts of it to heighten it a little, or bring some attention to some parts for drama, but its core has to come from the truth. Oh, and have you heard the fake it until you make it saying? Well, I say fuck that. That's the total opposite of telling the truth. You can fake it till you make it when you're aiming to be a hoodlum or thief. Fake your test result, fake your exams, fake your feelings, and fake your opinion. Soon you rise to the top to be a friggin' phony. If you aim to be a doctor, however, can you fake it till you make it? Of course not. You have to study hard and pass the bar and so forth. And if you do fake your degree in being a doctor, you'll get arrested if you get caught, not to mention all of the lives you'll ruin when you give people wrong advice. The only artists who fake it are con artists. Unless that's your goal, I suggest that you stick to telling the truth and be a real artist instead. Because both paths take time, discipline, and effort. Why make it harder for yourself being on the wrong path? You'll notice, the most authentic artists out there are the ones who are telling their stories, even if it's not pleasant to tell at first. I don't mean to say that you should share all your dirty laundry out in the open. No, you just have to tell the things relevant to the situation. Why that thing happened and how it helped you be a better person, and how it also helped you unlock the best way for you to make art. And if you do that, no bullshitting, no faking or making lies. If you tell the truth in your art, you'll find that your job as an artist is quite easy. As easy as telling the truth.